imagine you were sitting with 10-year-old Reneé right now.
Mm-hmm.
What does she need to hear?
Similar to have lived with a lot of years of beating myself up, I used to just live with this like inherent like guilt and regret, like a cloud over me, like just in a big way. And I used to think that like, oh, I would tell my younger self to do like this and this and this better, or like this and this and this, or da 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 da. I am now like really deciding to like not regret any of it. That's not to say that I don't want to hold myself accountable for things that I've done that aren't great, or for things that I inevitably will do that are not good, or that, you know, don't serve myself or other people. That's a separate conversation. This is more about, I'm really so incredibly proud of like such a lively, spunky, monstrous little like 10-year-old girl who was so fearless, so fearless. Like I was a rambunctious kid. I was crazy. I was inviting everybody in the neighborhood to my concerts on the fireplace. I was forcing people to come and listen to me sing. I was screaming for people to pay attention to me. And I'm really, really glad that I did that. And I would just say, like, do everything how you feel like you're going to. And when you mess up, just listen to yourself that you've messed up.
Yeah.
I would honestly just say, like, everything she did was great. Happy to be here in you know, failures and in wins.
You've talked about being so self-aware, and you can hear it when you're, you know, when I'm talking to you today, I'm like, there's such an awareness of who you were. There's such an awareness of who you are, what you're feeling. Sure. At this stage in your life, what are you hoping to unlearn for the future and learn for the future? If there was one thing you had to unlearn that you've developed, and if there was one thing you had to learn, what would you say they are?
I would say something that I would like to learn is how to like, I'm so hyper aware of when I do this in situations, and I try so hard not to. Whenever someone is talking about something that they've experienced with somebody else, like if somebody has hurt their feelings, right? Like if my best friend is talking to me about someone who has hurt them or harmed them or done them wrong in the smallest or biggest sense of the word, all I can think in my brain is like, when have I done that in my life? And just start like spiraling down this like, I remember when I did that to so-and-so, and like I need to call this person and be like, I am so sorry for what I put you through when we were like 4. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really would like to not center myself in what somebody else is talking about. And it's not, at least it's not consciously a selfish thing. Like I'm not actively trying to make my friend's grievance about myself.
Totally. It's just an
but
automatic.
I do. And I hate it. Because then I'm also like, oh my God, now I'm not as present with like my friend who's being so sweet and vulnerable with me. And now I'm doing a disservice to her by not, you know, listening to her fully and being so hyper conscious of like how I've acted or how I could have possibly showed up that way. I really want to unlearn that. I'm trying so hard not to do that. I hate when I do that. Granted, if I just keep beating myself up for it, then I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. And then I'm never going to like give myself grace for it. Something that I want to, well, I guess that's kind of learning and unlearning. Another thing that I want to like learn or unlearn, I need a little more like internal patience. I need internal patience. I need internal patience and external judgment really quick. Like I really need a lot of internal patience. I also need to like not give people who have hurt me or done me wrong as much slack. Like it's okay to like say that like, no, thank you. I'm good at like being done when I'm done, but it takes me a second.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I think like with that group of friends, like I should have taken maybe 2 things that happened before I ended up like face up, you know, before that.
Yeah. It doesn't need to get to that extreme.
Correct.
Those are great answers.
Yeah.
Those are great answers. Yeah. How have you kind of navigated the you know, again, we were talking about change. You've talked about before, like, I think you were struggling with an eating disorder when you were 10. You've talked obviously about how you've had the, you know, the gray area of your sexuality, like figuring that out. Like, how have you got comfortable navigating like the gray?
When it comes to like eating disorders, I think at least, and this is not necessarily everyone else's opinion, but how I perceive it myself is eating disorders are something that you are always going to deal with and always going to have, right? And this is not to compare it to alcoholism, because it is in nowhere the same or different or whatever. It's not a comparison. But it is to say that, like, with alcohol, you can decide to put yourself in situations where there is going to be alcohol there or not, or like you are going to decide whether to drink or not. You are never going to decide whether you can eat or not. You have to. You have to. And again, that is not to like put down or make little of alcoholism or any sort of struggle like that. My dad has been sober my whole life, but is an alcoholic. And this is something we talk about constantly and try to better understand each other. It's hard with an eating disorder. That is just constantly going to be around you. You have to eat to survive. So that's a constant gray area for me. I feel like I talk about it every day. So it's always just like, how did I do with it today? Or how am I going to do with it tomorrow?
It's a great mindset.
It's like living in a gray area, which is really frustrating, because I think to myself a lot, like, I would love for this to be gone. But it is just not something that I'm never going to deal with. If I want to continue to be alive, I'm going to be eating. And I'm going to have food around me. And that's going to make me feel crazy some days and out of control and insecure and really proud of myself and in full control other days. So there's a gray area with that constantly. When it comes to like sexuality, that's a whole other gray area that, like, at least for me, I, over the last like 6 or 7 months, have become less gray, at least right now. But I think, this is going to sound so silly, but like, I try to. And granted, this is also very easy for me to say, because like, I am a queer person who like is still at the end of the day like a white woman and is cisgender, and like I also am bisexual, so like I'm going to be in heteronormative relationships inevitably, just based off of being bisexual potentially. I think for me it is easy to say, but I try to like view like the gray area or times when I'm like struggling for like a label. If I don't feel like, I'll go through conversations with like my like girlfriend constantly if I'll be like, I actually feel incredibly not bisexual right now. Like, and it's silly, but there are things we talk about all the time, both of us with each other. And I'm just going to try to view it as like a little pink area. Like, it's all good. It's all cool. It's pink. It's good. It's good, whatever it is. Like, if I one day feel like this label or whatever, or lack thereof, does not suit me, then that's great. And that does not suit me. And I'm very fortunate to be able to make that decision and have that not affect my life in an incredibly massive way. A lot of other people are not, but I view it as a little pink area. It's just good. I'm trying not to be so angry with myself about it. Yeah. I struggled to like want a rhyme and a reason and a label and a season to make sense every single day. And I'm just not there.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people are. So I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Like straight people, at least as far as I'm concerned, don't like wake up every day and are like, oh my God, what level of straight am I today? And then if you are one of those people, you're likely queer. So, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so hardwired to be like, you have to choose an answer.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I think whether it was school, whether it was parents, it was like, there was always one right answer. You had to figure it out. There were no other options.
Absolutely.
There was no gray.
Yes.
You're either right or wrong.
Yes.
And so I think we still live in the right or wrong. And so it's really hard to be like, well, if I don't have the right answer, I must have the wrong answer. But I know this isn't wrong because it's how I feel. So then how do I make it right?
Yes.
And it's so confusing. And I love the pink. I love the pink. Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
great.
this is just a little pink area.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just chilling in the pink. It's nice.
I love it.